Hey everybody, right now we're going to be talking about pliers. So this is your standard plier. It's going to get more complicated from here. So this is your average plier. Most pliers today come with two sizes, right? So if I get in close, it's got kind of a wide mouth, and then if you open it up and slide it over, if I can get this worked right, you get, or sorry, that was the narrow mouth. So it actually touches, and then you slide over to the wide mouth, and you'll notice that when it's closed all of the way, the teeth are wider, the mouth is wider. So these are just your typical pliers, designed for grabbing things, lifting things, pulling things. It all started with this, the pliers. Now we're going to get a little more specialized. These are needle nose pliers because it's basically a plier and the nose comes down to a needle. These particular ones are kind of your standard needle nose pliers. They do make ones that go into a needle-like point where they get really sharp at the end, typically designed for jewelry making and things of that nature. They come in a variety of shapes and sizes, but the idea is that it gets smaller, and typically they have a longer jaw, right? So instead of with a plier, you're only grabbing things in one point, the needle nose pliers will grab along an entire line, right? So you can grab something, a little bit more of that object for pulling, and you can get into very fine areas, so you can reach inside of a hole to grab something and pull it out. Needle nose pliers. Now we get into the lineman's pliers. Lineman's pliers were invented by a man named Klein. He still sells tools called Klein tools. And basically, somebody who was working on the power lines, a lineman, broke part of his pliers, and they asked Klein, who was a machinist, to make him another half. And so the half that he made was stunted and flattened like this so that it would give kind of a larger grasp. And then he decided to start making pliers directly designed like this. And their goal is for pulling line, right? They're designed for people who are linemen. And you grab the line and you pull it and you can twist it. So they've got a little bit slightly different use than a plier, right? They don't grab like this, they pinch like that. And then oftentimes they have a wire cutter inside of them. So here on the bottom end right there is a pair of wire cutters or diagonal cutters. Lineman's pliers. All right, these are specifically just diagonal cutters. So there's a little line space. Try to get this in the camera so you can see it. Right, so it's got a little spot in there. These are just diagonal cutters or dikes designed specifically for cutting wire. They will not cut things that are really thick, like steel wire, almost specifically designed for copper wire, so it'll work well on things like aluminum, but it's almost specifically designed to cut copper wire. Next one up, these are referred to as vice grips. Vice grips is a brand name. So these are Cobalt. So Cobalt's the brand name that made these ones. So they're not called vice grips, they're called locking pliers. They mean the same thing, kind of like the whole tissue Kleenex thing. Vice grip is a brand name, so oftentimes it'll be referred to as a vice grip, but it's a locking plier. So the way that these work is it's got this little extra handle right here. So when you squeeze onto something, there's a mechanical lever in here that allows you to apply extra force. And once it's locked on there, it won't let go until you squeeze these two together. So you squeeze this little lever on the inside, and that allows it to start opening. And then there's a thumb knob at the bottom that increases or decreases the size of the mouth. So you can grab smaller things or increase the size of the mouth to grab larger things. Vice grips have a lot of force in them. So when you grab something with a vice grip, it typically leaves teeth marked into that object. So you don't want to grab something with vice grips that you want to maintain nice. They do a really good job of holding, but they do mar up the surface of whatever you're doing. So again, vice grip, locking pliers, it's kind of interchangeable. You can call them whatever you want. Everybody knows what you're talking about. The last one on the pliers section is channel locks. Very similar to a plier, right? So you can see on the teeth, it only grabs it in one side. But the nice thing about channel locks is it has these series of channels, which allows you to kind of open up to a wider thing. Oftentimes, this is typically a plumbing tool. You'll see people use these for smaller pipe jobs where you don't need a pipe wrench, but you need something that can get relatively wide. These are perfect for opening jars. So if you don't have a pair of channel locks, I highly recommend you get one. Even if you're not a handy person, just if it's to open up the pickle jar, right? Because you can get the mouth nice and wide and you stick it on the jar and you open it up. But you slide it open and then that allows you to slide up and down the channels and then you can close it. Open, slide, close. And there's a series of channels so you can get to whatever size that you really need it to be. All right, that's it for our pliers. Thanks, everybody.